Tommy Pham is one of a kind, for so many reasons. He's carved out a really solid 10-season career in Major League Baseball as, sneakily, one of its better players. But that's far from what he's most known for, and far from the level of respect he's gotten thus far. That's fine though. He's always been good at beating the odds and the expectations of others. And that's what's going to keep him going for the foreseeable future. His story is really way more than it seems. But really quick, I do have to do YouTuber things and inform you that subscribing to our channel for more content like this is very much appreciated. Even more so than we lead on. And give a brief thank you to today's sponsor. This video is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play fantasy sports. In Underdog's Pick'em game, you make simple predictions about stats, answering the question, higher or lower. These can include categories like strikeouts, hits, home runs, and plenty more for baseball. And yes, you can get weird with it. And there's more. If you sign up from now until August 8th, you will be eligible for a special pick in their Pick'em lobby, a free square for your Pick'em entry on August 9th, 2023. Underdog's Pick'em is not team or draft based at all. You just select specific individuals you want to focus on. And I think that's really cool. Underdog Pick'ems are available in 30 US states, so be sure to check if yours is eligible to participate in their contests. Getting started is pretty simple. Sign up with promo code SRS, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. A 100% deposit match for first-time users of code SRS up to $100 on UnderdogFantasy.com or Underdog Fantasy on the App Store. Thank you so much to Underdog for sponsoring this video. Please play responsibly. Tommy Pham grew up in what he describes as not a good part of Las Vegas. Coming from a self-admitted difficult early life, he knew the best paths for him to get a college education were being really good at baseball and being really good in the classroom. So, he locked in and made both a reality. Pham is a really clever and intelligent guy, and is also savvy enough to record himself during an interview with the media to be sure they don't take him out of context. He was also a fantastic athlete, considered one of the top-tier high school baseball prospects in America as a senior in high school. Don't be fooled by his being drafted in the 16th round by the St. Louis Cardinals in 2006 as some "oh, Tommy Pham was a 16th round type talent" kind of info nugget. He signed for third round money and was projected to be taken as high as the third round, if his agent didn't briefly screw up the draft process. And oh yeah, you heard me correctly, Tommy Pham's still going strong today and was drafted back in 2006. Let me put it to you like this. In that time frame, Call of Duty went from looking like this to having Kevin Durant in it. You think that when Kevin Durant gets killed, he respawns on the team that killed him? Injuries really slowed down Tommy in the minor leagues to where it took over 8 years from the time he was drafted to the day he made his big league debut for the Cardinals. So long from the day he was drafted that he was never once listed on MLB.com's top prospects list for the Cardinals. He played very little down the stretch for the 2014 Cardinals, only appearing in 6 games and having just 2 at-bats. 2015 saw him start back in the minor leagues, get injured again, and slowly but surely work his way onto a big league roster by early July. He played a little more at the end of 2015 and showed a lot of promise in his skill set. This is going to be a very important concept for the remainder of our time here, so take note of this now. On the website Baseball Savant, which shows you where baseball players rank in their skill sets in a color-coded way of showing their percentiles, red is good, blue is bad, with the higher the number in the circle, the better. Tommy Pham didn't play enough to register on most categories, but did show that he could run really fast and hit the ball really hard. As a 27-year-old rookie, that's how old Ahmed Rosario is right now in the 7th season of his career. Pham showed the Cardinals enough to be put on the playoff roster in 2015 and hit a huge home run in their first playoff game in the 8th inning off John Lester, in his first ever postseason at-bat. But the Cardinals would lose this series to the Cubs. Pham would go home and more or less did it all again in 2016 minus the playoff moment. Injuries early in the season, not enough playing time to really make a dent, but the promise was there, even if unproven. Baseball was left wondering what would happen if Tommy Pham got a real opportunity in 2017.
Hey yo, what the f***?
By wins above replacement, a stat that measures how many more games a team would win with a particular player over what's considered a replacement level player at the same position, Pham was a top 10 player in all of MLB, and in the metric that quantifies power and speed combinations. He was cut loose, and he became one of the best and still most underrated players in baseball, especially considering he started this season in the minor leagues again. Pham was top 20 in all of baseball in batting average, on-base percentage, and on-base plus slugging. All that led him to being over 40% better than the league average hitter that season if you go by OPS+. What a year for a guy really just, for the first time ever, getting consistent playing time. You know who else probably understood this? Tommy Pham himself. Tommy Pham knows his baseball stats, which is part of why I'm totally cool leaning on a lot of stats in this video. He loves researching the numbers and using them to better understand and develop his game. He's a lot like the geeks in that way. Most geeks don't get compared to Tiger Woods though.
They nicknamed me Tiger Hood. Tiger Hood.
Or maybe they do, I don't know.
I always wanted to say this. For shizzle.
But it shouldn't be much of a surprise that someone with Pham's intellect thought to dive into the advanced numbers of baseball, and to this day, cite metrics like WAR and weighted runs created plus that practically no one knew about when he first entered pro ball. That alone is uncommon, but Tommy thrives off being uncommon. But with how good a year he had in 2017, injuries and inconsistency came back in 2018, to the point where it didn't look unreasonable for them to trade him and make a deal to send him to the Tampa Bay Rays, where he would land on the injured list after just 2 games. Consistent in that regard, unfortunately. When he came back, oh my god, he was the best player on a team that surged to 90 wins on the season down the stretch. Because something the Rays noticed was that even with his injury struggles and inconsistent results, his skill set was still there. The difference between his metrics in a year where he was arguably a top 10 player in the league and a year where the Cardinals more or less gave up on him were barely enough to notice. Pham stayed good for the 2019 Rays, playing a little below all-star level as a key contributor on a playoff team, contributing in the playoffs themselves as well. Another solid season and a solid career. But, remember when I said a solid career was not what Pham was most known for? Now's about the time I can tell you why. Pham's team for 2020 was the San Diego Padres, and after the season, he got stabbed outside of a San Diego strip club. After which he needed 200 stitches, almost died, and said, quote, "I don't fear any man like that." He handled this situation in the way the hypothetical child of Ron Swanson and Omar Little would. And Pham's team after the Padres was the Cincinnati Reds, where he once slapped fellow big leaguer Jock Peterson in front of everyone on the field before a game over a beef that started in fantasy football.
Let me just say this. I've never said what's up or hi to Jock on the baseball field. When we joined this football league together, there was a lot of talking. What makes him think it's cool, to take shots at me and my team, then, I forewarned him. I was like, hey, Jock, I'm not cool with you like this. Then, he kept taking subtle shots. So I was like, next time I see you, man, I'm going to pimp slap the out of you. And it just so happened to be a year later.
Bro really said,
dude, if you do that again, I'm going to punch you. I'm not kidding.
If you ask the average baseball fan about Tommy Pham, the slapping moment or the stabbing moment are probably the 2 things they'll mention first. He isn't the guy who's been on a large chunk of Major League Baseball's teams and shown on many of them why they wanted him. He's just known for slappings and stabbings. That sounds like the name of an album. This man was a 6 WAR outfielder, and his on-field play is more than likely not the most known thing about him. That's what really sold me on making this video. It's that everything else about him is overlooked. You know what else is overlooked about Pham that makes his accomplishments even more impressive? The fact that he's legitimately losing his eyesight. He has a degenerative vision condition called keratoconus that, without high-tech contact lenses, he couldn't really live a simple life. His contacts help neutralize the problem, but as someone who wears glasses so that I can, see anything at all, I empathize with him. To all my glasses haters and 4 eyes discreditors out there, We're just trying to see. You know the phrase, see the ball, hit the ball? Well, you kind of need to be able to see in the first place to achieve that. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. When I saw Tommy play for the New York Mets in spring training before the 2023 season, I thought he looked finished. His batting average in 17 spring training games was 156, and his reads on the ball in the outfield looked really bad. Both offense and defense looking really out of whack. Little did I know, he hadn't had his contacts tuned up yet, and his ability to see the baseball at all was much more difficult. My perception went from, wait, Tommy Pham might be bad, to, Tommy Pham still got to hit 15% of the time without being able to see the ball? I mean, look at these symptoms and tell me you could get a hit 15% of the time at any level of baseball while having this going on. This makes his ability to draw walks way more impressive. You know, the thing you have to have good vision to do while hitting.
You're just the fucking baseball genius, aren't you? You just know what I'm gonna throw and know not to freaking swing at anything. Except this, probably. Yep, figures. You knew that one, though, would be the one ball that I threw as a strike. You knew!
I'm not afraid to admit it. I was wrong about Pham, and I have a hunch that most baseball fans have underestimated his ability and the career he's put together. Right when I started to doubt Pham as a 35-year-old in Mets spring training, I could never have seen him turning in one of the best stretches of his career, being possibly the best hitter on a team that had a $353 million payroll on opening day. Pham was just $6 million of that. And it didn't help that Pham had a really cold start to the season as well. The analytics department for the Mets came to the conclusion he shouldn't play against right-handed pitching. He went out there with a burning desire to prove them wrong and wound up having a better batting average and on-base percentage against right-handed pitching than left-handed pitching. Because this is the kind of thing Tommy Pham does. A large paper trail of doubt in Pham from Mets fans on Twitter in the same year he wound up having his regular batted ball metrics. What this means is that when Tommy Pham hits a baseball, he hits it really hard. He has done this his whole career, and he is now old enough to be president. He is fully aware of this too. I can't think of any other 35-year-old MLB players who casually talk about their knowledge of Fangraph's advanced baseball stats in conversation. Even the advanced metrics sell him short at times. His closest career comparisons on Baseball Reference are to guys named Mark Whiten and Eric Burns, both of whom I think Tommy Pham has shown much more all-around talent than during his career. And yet, maybe the most under-the-radar cool thing he's ever done, after all those struggles with the Mets, after dealing with needing to get his contacts tuned up after joining the team, being a part-time 35-year-old player at the start of the season, he went out and was the second best hitter in all of MLB behind Shohei Ohtani for a month. That is just so impressive. The best hitter in the American League from May 28th to July 3rd of 2023 was the guy who might be the best all-around baseball athlete of all time. The best in the National League? Tommy Pham. Pham was traded just the other day to the Arizona Diamondbacks as they try to make a push towards a postseason run. A team looking to win a full postseason series for the first time in over 15 years. And I'll surely tell you, I will be keeping an eye on them for the remainder of the season. And Pham for the rest of his career. The more I researched Pham, the more I was like, this dude is one of a kind. It's hard to believe there's a guy who's really good at baseball for several teams, has a degenerative vision condition, had a long minor league career, overcame a difficult early life, has worked his way through countless injuries, some of them from stab wounds, speaks the same stat language as 14-year-old amateur talent evaluators on Reddit, and is somehow underrated, not super well known outside of hardcore baseball fans. If anything, some guy might respond to all that with, oh yeah, isn't he the guy who slapped Jock Peterson? Come on, that's wrong. Give Tommy Pham some credit for being one of the most interesting good players in the game today.
I don't have this sugar diet of honey buns and ice cream, for my six-pack abs.